to all. We know that classroom is an important place where interaction is taking place. Do we as teachers need to research some conversations of children in classroom? In today's session, we are going to deal with researching classrooms for understanding children. For the discussion on this topic, we have with us Dr. Sukhvinder, Associate Professor in Geography at Educational Survey Division of NCERT, New Delhi. He works in the area of social science education, assessment and evaluation, conduct large-scale educational surveys and identification of talented students. He has experience of 2.5 decades working in research organization, teacher training institute, degree college and school. He is closely associated with IGNOU and NIOS and contributed significantly in material development. Welcome you, sir, for today's video program. And we know that along with Dr. Sukhvinder, myself, Dr. Elizabeth Kuruvilla from School of Education, IGNOU. Schools are a key environment within which children learn, search and use information. And classroom is a place which promotes opportunity to teachers to improve their understanding about children and thereby modifying their own teaching strategies. Okay, sir. On this topic, I would like to share or I would like to ask some questions with you. Generally, we heard about research. When the term research comes, we will think of the large-scale research. So, my first question is, what is research in general and classroom research in specific? Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Elizabeth, for the introduction. And well, as you have stated that today we are going to deal with a session on researching classrooms for understanding children. And before I move on to the first question of what is research and how it is different from formal research, let me provide you overview that what are we going to discuss in this session. So well, in this particular session, we will be discussing meaning of research and classroom research. We will also have discussion on need for classroom research. We will be discussing on research in classroom during pandemic situation, and then we will be also discussing about points wherein we will be facilitating our teachers in conducting classroom research. So this will be focus of our today's discussion, and for this we have certain learning outcomes, and to list out the learning outcomes, we have that in this session, we'll try to explain the meaning of classroom research, describe the need and importance of classroom research, explain the features of classroom research, and list out ways of conducting classroom research. So, another one is facilitate the teachers to undertake classroom research. So, with these learning outcomes, we will come to today's discussion. As you have rightly pointed out that what is research and how it is different from classroom research. So what I think that before we initiate the discussion, so there are two terms in today's topic. One is classroom and another is research. When it comes to classroom, say what we can understand that it is a designated learning place in an educational institute, in a school, college or university. So in a classroom, we normally see there's a teacher and we also have a group of students. And they are engaged in a meaningful activity, meaningful learning activity through various pedagogical process. and this learning takes place uninterruptedly. So this is the concept of classroom in our school scenario. But say from last 1.5 years, say the whole concept of classroom has changed. So due to COVID-19 situation, we all know that schools remain closed for almost 1.5 years, and students they were confined to their homes, and teachers they were engaged in conducting online classes. So now when it comes to the concept of classroom in the pandemic situation, so what we have realized that say in order to have remote learning, say teachers they are engaging in online classes, and they are having environment which is digitally created, and all students and teachers are placed at different locations, and that is how interaction is taking place and learning is taking place among students. Now when it comes to the teachers, those who have to conduct classroom research, they need to take both the scenarios in mind. So prior to pandemic times and during pandemic times, and then what they must have realized that there are certain concerns with the teachers. So I've already told you that say in a regular classroom there is a teacher, then we have got students which are from diverse background, so they are distinct in nature with respect to socioeconomic status, their learning level, their behavior and their mental health. And classroom also has certain learning resources, and there is a availability of infrastructure facility.
Okay, Dr. Sukhvinder, you have rightly stated about the transformation of classroom, how it has transformed from face-to-face to virtual learning. Can you explain the characteristics of a classroom?
Well, Dr. Elizabeth, so if you consider our classrooms in our school setup, so whenever this word classroom comes to our mind, so we have a teacher, then there's a group of students. These group of students, belongs to different diverse group, and diversity is there with respect to their socio-economic status, their learning level, their behavior pattern and their mental health. And moreover, these classrooms do have these learning resources also, and there are certain infrastructure facilities. Yes. So these are some of the characteristic features of our classrooms.
Okay, you have stated about the characteristics features of classroom. Do we need research in classroom? Generally, as teachers, we may think that research is not as much important. We have to complete our portion. Here comes the relevant question: do we need research in classroom? If needed, why?
Yeah, so you have asked a very pertinent question that do we need research in classroom? So I'll give you an instance. I have earlier stated that teachers they occupy a prominent place in our classrooms. And you see, whenever there's a teacher in the classroom, so he or she has certain concerns. Like, there are various concerns with the teachers that what are the learning levels of children in my class? So, say, are the students learning? So, are, they learning to the optimum level? Am I able to teach the way I am supposed to teach? What are the pedagogical processes I am undertaking in my classroom? Whether these pedagogical processes, assessment patterns need some change. So apart from that, teachers, they are always concerned with students of different abilities, as I have stated earlier that there are different ability groups in this class. There are certain talented students, there are gifted students, there are students, those who are not able to keep pace with the teacher's teaching learning style. And there are students from different socioeconomic groups. There may be students in the class, those who are from the groups of persons with benchmark disabilities. Apart from that, what we have noticed that student teachers, they deal with the socio-emotional concerns of the children, and often they come across the students' behavioral pattern, their adjustment problems, and these are some of the concerns of the teachers. And when teachers faces these concerns, she or he encounter with these issues, so what is the solution? So teachers, they have to find out the solutions, and the big answer to finding out the solution is to conduct classroom research. And I think it is very pertinent in such a scenario that teacher must undertake classroom research.
Yes, surely. And when we look at this classroom research or the role played by teachers, we can see that the teachers should be trained how to conduct research and everything. And more than that, before going into the details of that, what are the characteristics of research? Because we are speaking about research, can you tell a few points about the characteristics of research?
So when it comes to research, say in a layman's language, or to make it very simple, what I can say that research refers to the process wherein activities are carried out systematically to find solution to a given problem, right? So this also leads to new findings, to solve problems, or to develop new theories. So whenever teacher come across such issues, or he or she has to address these concerns or the problems he or she is facing in the classroom, the alternative to resolve these issues is to conduct research. So I'll reiterate that research refers to the process wherein activities are carried out systematically to find solution to the given problem. So with this, you may also like to know certain characteristics of the research.
Yes.
And as I've stated that research is a systematic activity. So it's systematic in nature. So it contains several sequential steps. It's not like that. So various steps are taken in a haphazard manner, or in a very indecisive way. So all these steps are taken in a very sequential manner, and it's very systematic. Again, say when it comes to systematic, so it can be tested, it can be validated, and it can be proved also. So then another characteristic of this research is that it is problem oriented. Why I am saying problem oriented? Because it is initiated when we are facing certain problems. So it is problem oriented, and then it is a process. Why it is a process? As I have already conveyed that it contains sequential steps, and then again it follows your input output model also, that we need to provide certain input, then there is a process, then we will be getting some output, and these outputs are in the form of, say, your findings, or we can also say that solutions. And then it involves several activities. Several activities means, you see, you have to identify the topic, you have to collect the data, you have to analyze the data, you have to write the report, you have to summarize the findings, and you have to test whether these findings were appropriate or not. So another thing is that the most important characteristic of research is that it leads to solutions. We get solutions to our day-to-day problems, or we get solutions to the problem which we have identified in our discipline. So these were some of the characteristic features of conducting research.
What are the specific issues in classroom teachers envisage which may require immediate attention? Can you share some of the specific issues?
Yeah. So in the beginning, what we have shared that we are holding a discussion on conducting classroom research, and so far I have given you the concept of classroom and also the research. Now let's come to classroom research. When it comes to classroom research, it's a small scale research, and then you will ask me that who conducts this research? To this, my answer will be that the classroom research is conducted by a teacher or by a group of teachers in the classroom scenario or in order to resolve certain academic, behavioral and emotional problems of the children.
Okay, so whatever you have stated is correct. The students are facing with these emotional problems and behavioral problems like that. Next one, we have to think over what are the characteristics of classroom research. Already you have stated about the characteristics of research. What are the characteristics of classroom research?
Yeah, so in order to facilitate the learners about classroom research, so let's look at the characteristics of classroom research in a very pinpointed manner. And the very first point I may like to highlight is that it's learner-centric. Why it is learner-centric? Say because learner is placed in the center. So we need to address various issues that what are the problems faced by the learner. So these can be socio-emotional problems, it can be behavioral problems, this can be problems related to their academic achievement. So the learner is in focus, and that is how the very first and the prominent characteristic of classroom is that it is learner-centric. Then it is teacher-directed. Why it is teacher-directed? Because teacher is the person who conducts the research based on his or her own problem faced in the classroom. Then the very important, another important point for characteristic is that it's collaborative in nature. Teacher with the help of peer group, with the help of other teachers or with the help of parents, school administration, community, do try to find out solution to their classroom problems, and that is why it is collaborative in nature. And another point which is very pertinent is that it is context specific. You see, classroom is very specific in nature, and suppose there is a school and there are 8 sections in the classroom, in the school setup, and all these sections will not be similar to each other, and the problems faced by one subject teacher in class 8 may not be the same as the faced by the teacher of the other section. So it may vary from class to class, it may vary from subject to subject, it may vary from teacher to teacher. So what we can say that it is very context specific. Again, the teacher teaching in a rural school or in a rural setup, the problems will be totally different from the teacher, those who are teaching in urban setup or teaching in a metropolitan city. And then say there's another characteristic of classroom research is that it is very scholarly in nature. Why scholarly in nature? Because very meticulously teacher has to plan for classroom research. As I have stated in the beginning that these are not the steps which are conducted in a haphazard manner. They are very systematic steps, and suppose teacher is dealing with review of literature, very meticulously teacher has to deal with literature available in that particular area. Not only that, he has to use proper tools for data collection and use proper statistical techniques for analyzing of the data, and very thoroughly, very meticulously he has to report his writings and place his findings on record. So the entire work the teacher does has to be done in a very scholarly manner. And then, so this classroom research is very practical and relevant because say the research which is not practical in nature, which is not giving you meaningful findings, meaningful say solutions, it cannot be practical, it cannot be relevant. So when we are getting solutions to our day-to-day classroom problems, so the research becomes practical and relevant, and that is how we can say that the characteristic of classroom research is to be practical and relevant in nature. Another point which I may like to highlight is that it is continual in nature. Once we have received the findings, we'll be testing these findings whether they are properly working for us or are they meaningful solutions. Are we able to resolve our issues? If not, again we have to go back to our basics. Again we have to take up the research. and that is how we can say that it's continual in nature. So what we can say that, so the classroom research is learner centric, it is teachers directed, it's collaborative in nature, content specific, scholarly, practical and relevant, and continual.
Next question is, I am a teacher, I am not equipped in research methodology. How I can take up research in this context if I am not much aware about the research methodology?
Okay, you have asked a very pertinent question, and many of our learners, they are either teachers, they are prospective teachers. So they have very pertinent question in their mind that they are not well equipped with conducting classroom research. They are not aware with the tools. They are not aware with the methodology to be undertaken. They are not familiar with the style of report writing, what they should do. So let me make it very clear that there are certain differences between action research and classroom research. So though we will be discussing in detail what action research in our subsequent session, but let me briefly inform all the learners that say though there's a formal research with us, we have action research, but you see the nitty-gritties which we require formal research is altogether different from action research. With say with your little practice and with little understanding or with little interest in the area of action research, you can very well equip yourself with the nitty-gritties of conducting classroom research. So to make it more this thing relevant, let me share with you that NCERT do announces online course on action research in educational technology every year, and it's an online course. So you can brush up your basics, you can understand the nuances of conducting action research by visiting this particular link which is shown on your screen, and you can very well equipped. And another thing I may like to highlight here is that you can read the literature on conducting classroom research. You can discuss with your peer and discuss with your educational administrators, educational functionaries about conducting classroom research to resolve your issues. So I think say by following these steps, learners, prospective learners will be able to deal with conducting classroom research very effectively.
So here, suppose I want to initiate research in classroom. What is the way out?
Yeah, suppose you want to conduct classroom research or research in classroom. So the way out is that first you have to identify your problem. Okay, so you must be able to identify what are the issues you are facing. As in the beginning, I have conveyed that normally teachers do face issues related to academics or socio-emotional problems of the children or behavioral aspects of the children. Or say you may, after identification of your problem, then you have to conduct a research that for which group you are dealing with. So once group is also identified, you have to decide for your methods, and either you can conduct action research or you can deal with a case study. So let me inform to all the prospective learners that through action research and by conducting a case study, you can conduct classroom research very effectively.
Okay, so there are various ways that teachers can conduct classroom research, as Dr. Sukhvinder has stated. Next question is, I am facing certain problems or obstacles in conducting classroom research. What is the way out and what suggestions you may like to offer?
Yeah, often we have heard that teachers, they are preoccupied with their pedagogical processes, they are engaged in conducting assessment in their classroom, and though they are facing problems, they are not able to carry on with the classroom research. So for this, they need to put slightly extra efforts. They have to move, from the normal. They need to move from the normal. I can say that they have to place n plus 1, say whatever things are available. So you need to look into those circumstances, and you need to conduct classroom research by either equipping yourself with the nuances of conducting classroom research. As I've already told you that you can undertake a course on action research, you can go through the literature available, you can speak to your counterparts, you can collaborate with your peer group, and you can conduct classroom research. So you should not feel disheartened that I have not learned anything about classroom research. I'm just graduate with my degree in education. So what should I do? Though in master degree course we do teach methodology courses in almost all the disciplines, but at graduation level with degree in education, it may happen that the prospective teachers, they are not aware with the methodological aspects of conducting research, but they should not feel disheartened. So this is slightly different from conducting formal research, and by reading little literature in this area, or speaking to their peer, or taking a course on conducting action research, I think this will solve part of your problem to undertake classroom research.
Yes, you have given a good suggestion to the prospective learners who want to conduct classroom research. My next question is, do all teachers have to take up classroom research?
Yeah, so do all teachers have to take classroom research is a very pertinent question, right? So why I'm saying that, because say for this, I may like to ask you one particular question, that are you satisfied with your profession? Are you satisfied with your daily classroom teaching learning practice? Are you satisfied with your assessment patterns? Or say, does your classroom scenario disturbs you, that your students, they are not performing well, right? So I think most of you must be saying yes to these particular questions, and you may be encountering one or the other issue. As in the beginning I've told you that, so there may be academic issues, behavioral issues, socio-emotional issues faced by the students in the classroom, and I don't think any teacher is not facing any one such issue in the classroom. You may say that, okay, in my class, say almost all the students are doing well, okay, but in that case also, so you need to deal with the problem of handling gifted students. How to handle these students, those who are very enthusiastic, very keen in learning, and they are very aggressive in learning, I can say that, and how to handle those students. So your problem may change from one domain to another, but I think all the teachers may have one or the other concern. A rural teacher may have his own concern, a teacher teaching in urban area may have its own concern. So there are concerns when there are so many students in the classroom and pupil teacher ratio is very high, and then there are scenarios where the pupil teacher ratio is very less. There are 3 to 4 students and there is one teacher. How to engage these students in a meaningful manner, again that's an issue. So there is no dearth of issues and concerns, and I think all the teachers, all the prospective learners, they are facing these concerns, they are facing these issues, and in that case I may say that, so this classroom research is very much required for all the teachers to give meaningful results to our learning.
Okay, you have very well stated why teachers have to take up the initiation of classroom research. So in this video, we have covered what is classroom research, what is the need of conducting this classroom research, what are the characteristics of classroom research, and how classroom research can be conducted. Hope that you have enjoyed this video program and you may be motivated to conduct classroom research. Thank you.
Thank you.